As we step into the year 2025, I want to invite you to shift your focus inward, to take this year as an opportunity to prioritize yourself not in selfishness, but in the pursuit of authenticity and purpose. Too often, we get caught up in the endless cycle of comparison, scrolling through highlight reels that make us question our worth, our progress, and our path. But let me remind you, your worth isn't measured by anyone else's metrics. Your journey is yours, and it is enough. Authenticity is one of the most courageous acts of self-love we can practice. Yet, it's not always easy. In a world that often pushes us toward conformity, living authentically requires us to stand firm in who we are, even when it feels vulnerable. Prioritizing authenticity means stepping away from the need to meet external expectations and reconnecting with our true selves, our values, passions, and purpose. It's about honoring the unique journey that life has set before us, even when it doesn't look like anyone else's. Your unique journey is a sacred path that cannot be compared or measured against anyone else's. Think about it, no one else has lived your life, faced your challenges, or dreamed your dreams. This realization is liberating. It means that the only standard that truly matters is your own. When you embrace this, you begin to free yourself from the constant pull of comparison, a force that can drain your energy, stifle your creativity, and make you doubt your worth. Comparison is often born out of insecurity. We look to others for validation, trying to gauge whether we're enough, but here's the truth: you don't need to keep up with anyone else because you're not running their race. Your journey is yours alone, and it's worth celebrating for exactly what it is: messy, imperfect, and wonderfully unique. Living authentically starts with knowing yourself. Ask yourself, what matters most to me? What are my values? What brings me joy and fulfillment? Taking the time to reflect on these questions allows you to align your actions and decisions with your true self. It's about listening to that inner voice, the one that knows what feels right, even when the world is telling you otherwise. Authenticity also requires vulnerability. It means being willing to show up as you are without pretense or masks. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real. When you embrace your imperfections and own your story, you create space for connection, not just with others, but with yourself. You begin to trust that who you are is enough, and that trust becomes the foundation for everything you do. But here's the challenge: living authentically often means saying no to what doesn't align with your values. It might mean stepping away from situations or relationships that no longer serve you. It might mean taking risks or making choices that others don't understand. This can be uncomfortable, even scary, but discomfort is often a sign that you're growing. When you prioritize authenticity, you also learn to give yourself grace. You stop punishing yourself for not living up to unrealistic standards and instead celebrate the progress you're making. You learn to embrace the idea that your worth isn't tied to your productivity or accomplishments. You are worthy simply because you exist. One of the most powerful aspects of living authentically is the ripple effect it creates. When you honor your own journey, you inspire others to do the same. Authenticity is contagious. It gives others permission to show up as their true selves too. This doesn't mean your journey has to look perfect, it won't. But by sharing your struggles and triumphs honestly, you remind others that it's okay to be human. It's important to remember that prioritizing authenticity doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, one that requires intention and commitment. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when the pressure to conform feels overwhelming. In those moments, return to your values. Ground yourself in what matters most to you. Remind yourself that your journey is unfolding exactly as it's meant to. So how do you start prioritizing authenticity in 2025? Begin with small steps. Take time each day to reflect on what feels true to you. Practice saying no to things that drain your energy and yes to things that light you up. Surround yourself with people who celebrate you for who you are, not who they want you to be. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. Honoring your unique journey isn't about achieving perfection, it's about embracing your humanity. It's about showing up for yourself, even when it's hard. It's about trusting that who you are is enough, and that your path, no matter how winding, is leading you exactly where you're meant to be. In 2025, let authenticity be your guide. Stand tall in your truth, honor your journey, and watch as your world transforms, not because you've changed to fit someone else's mold, but because you've become fully and unapologetically yourself. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. Many of us see it as a weakness, a crack in the armor we wear to protect ourselves from the world. But in truth, vulnerability is one of the most profound expressions of courage we can embody. It's not about exposing yourself recklessly or sharing everything with everyone. It's about being honest and open about who you are, what you feel, and what you need. When we embrace vulnerability, we allow ourselves to grow in ways that staying in our comfort zones could never achieve. Think about it, growth rarely happens in places of certainty or security. It happens when we step into the unknown, take risks, and allow ourselves to be seen. Vulnerability is the key that unlocks these experiences, offering us the opportunity to learn more about ourselves and the world around us. At its core, vulnerability is about connection. To connect deeply with others, we must first connect deeply with ourselves. This starts by acknowledging our emotions, even the uncomfortable ones. Too often, we push aside feelings like fear, shame, or sadness because they make us uncomfortable. But those feelings are part of what it means to be human. When we suppress them, we cut ourselves off from the very things that make us whole. Embracing vulnerability requires us to face these emotions head on. It means saying, "This is how I feel right now." And that's okay. It's about giving ourselves permission to feel, rather than judging or silencing our emotions. In doing so, we create space for healing and self-discovery. Vulnerability also invites us to take risks. These don't have to be grand gestures often. They're small but meaningful steps toward growth. It might mean sharing an idea that feels deeply personal, asking for help when you're struggling, or admitting that you don't have all the answers. These acts may feel uncomfortable, but they also create opportunities for learning, connection, and strength. One of the greatest barriers to embracing vulnerability is fear. Fear of rejection, failure, or judgment can keep us from taking those risks. But here's the thing, avoiding vulnerability doesn't protect us, it isolates us. When we hide our true selves, we may feel safe, but we also miss out on the richness of life. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to move forward in spite of it. When we choose vulnerability, we're choosing to be brave. We're saying, "I'm willing to take this step, even if it scares me, because I know it's worth it." Every time we do this, we build resilience. We prove to ourselves that we can handle discomfort, and we grow stronger as a result. Vulnerability is also a gateway to self-compassion. When we allow ourselves to be imperfect, we give ourselves permission to be human. We stop holding ourselves to impossible standards and start embracing the messy, beautiful reality of who we are. This self-acceptance creates a foundation for growth because it allows us to try, fail, and try again without fear of judgment from ourselves or others. Another powerful aspect of vulnerability is how it strengthens our relationships. True connection happens when we let others see us for who we really are, flaws and all. This doesn't mean we have to share everything with everyone. Vulnerability requires discernment. But when we trust someone enough to be open and honest with them, we create bonds that are authentic and meaningful. Imagine a world where we all embrace vulnerability, where instead of hiding behind facades, we showed up as our true selves. It would be a world full of empathy, understanding, and connection. By embracing vulnerability, you contribute to that world not just for yourself, but for those around you. So how can you begin to embrace vulnerability in 2025? Start small. Practice being honest with yourself about how you're feeling. Share a little more of yourself with someone you trust. Take a step towards something that scares you, knowing that growth often lies on the other side of discomfort. Remember, vulnerability isn't about perfection, it's about authenticity. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. It's about being brave enough to say, "This is me," and knowing that who you are is enough. In choosing vulnerability, you choose growth, you choose connection, you choose to live fully and authentically. This year, let vulnerability be your path to self-discovery, and watch as it transforms your life in ways you never imagined possible. Boundaries are essential for living a life that feels fulfilling, authentic, and aligned with your deepest values. Yet, so many of us struggle with setting them. Why? Because boundaries can feel uncomfortable. They often require us to say no when we've been conditioned to say yes. They ask us to prioritize our needs when we've been taught to prioritize others. But the truth is, boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about protecting what matters most to us. At its heart, setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. It's a way of saying, my time, energy, and values are important in a world that constantly demands more from us. Boundaries are the lines we draw to preserve our well-being and focus on what truly matters. They help us guard our energy so we can invest it in the people, goals, and experiences that align with our vision for our lives. The first step to setting boundaries is getting clear on your values. What is most important to you? What do you want to prioritize in your life? These values serve as your compass, guiding your decisions and helping you determine where to draw the line. For example, if family time is a core value, you might set boundaries around work to ensure you're not missing meaningful moments at home. If personal growth is a priority, you might limit social obligations that detract from your ability to invest in yourself. Once you're clear on your values, the next step is recognizing where your energy is being drained. Are there relationships, commitments, or habits that leave you feeling depleted? Pay attention to the situations that consistently cause stress, frustration, or exhaustion. These are often the areas where boundaries are needed most. Setting boundaries can feel challenging, especially if you're someone who is used to pleasing others. You might worry about disappointing people or fear conflict. But here's the truth: saying yes to everyone else often means saying no to yourself. And when you constantly put others' needs above your own, you risk burnout, resentment, and losing sight of your own goals and values. It's important to remember that boundaries are not about being selfish, they're about being clear. They help you communicate your needs in a way that is honest and respectful. For example, if a friend frequently calls late at night, disrupting your sleep, setting a boundary might look like saying, "I value our conversations, but I need to prioritize rest. Let's catch up earlier in the evening." One of the biggest myths about boundaries is that they push people away. In reality, healthy boundaries often strengthen relationships. When you communicate your limits clearly, you're teaching others how to respect and value you. At the same time, you're modeling what it looks like to prioritize self-care and authenticity, something that can inspire others to do the same. Boundaries also allow you to show up more fully in the areas of your life that matter most. When you're not overcommitting or spreading yourself too thin, you have more energy, focus, and presence to give to the things that truly align with your values. This can lead to deeper connections, greater fulfillment, and a stronger sense of purpose. It's important to acknowledge that setting boundaries isn't always easy. People may not always understand or agree with your decisions, and that's okay. Boundaries are not about seeking approval, they're about honoring yourself. Over time, the people who truly value and respect you will adapt to your boundaries, and those relationships will grow stronger as a result. Another key to successful boundary setting is consistency. Boundaries are only effective if they're maintained. This means being willing to reinforce them even when it's uncomfortable. It also means being mindful of your own actions. Are you respecting the boundaries you've set for yourself? For example, if you've decided to take weekends off from work, are you sticking to that commitment, or are you sneaking in emails? Finally, remember that boundaries are not static. They can evolve as your values, priorities, and circumstances change. Take time to regularly reflect on your boundaries and assess whether they're still serving you. If they're not, give yourself permission to adjust them. So how can you start setting boundaries in 2025? Begin with small, manageable steps. Identify one area of your life where you feel overwhelmed or misaligned and think about how a boundary could help. Practice communicating that boundary with kindness and clarity. And most importantly, remind yourself that boundaries are a form of self-care. They are a way of protecting your energy so you can live a life that feels authentic and meaningful. This year, let boundaries be your guide to greater peace, focus, and fulfillment. Protect your energy fiercely, align your actions with your values, and watch as your life transforms in ways that reflect the truest version of yourself. In a world that often glorifies perfection, it can feel like nothing we do is ever enough. We set impossibly high standards for ourselves, constantly striving for an ideal that's always just out of reach. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion. It's a moving target that keeps us stuck in cycles of self-doubt and exhaustion. That's why it's so important to shift our focus from chasing perfection to celebrating progress. Progress is the real measure of growth and success. It's not about where you finish, but about how far you've come. When you celebrate progress, you acknowledge the effort, learning, and resilience that have carried you forward. It's about honoring the small victories and recognizing that every step, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. The first step in celebrating progress is reframing how you define success. Too often, we tie our sense of accomplishment to external markers like reaching a goal, getting a promotion, or achieving a certain milestone. While these achievements are worth celebrating, they're not the whole story. Success is also about the journey, the challenges you've overcome, the lessons you've learned, and the courage it takes to keep going. When you focus on progress, you create space for self-compassion. You stop punishing yourself for not being perfect and start appreciating your effort and commitment. Self-compassion is the practice of treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a close friend. It's about recognizing that everyone makes mistakes, and no one has it all figured out. Think about a time when you set a goal but didn't achieve it exactly as planned. Maybe you wanted to start a new fitness routine but only managed to work out a few times a week instead of daily. Instead of beating yourself up, ask yourself, did I show up? Did I try? Did I learn something from the experience? These questions shift your focus from what you didn't do to what you did, allowing you to see the progress you've made. Progress over perfection also means embracing the idea that growth is not linear. Life is full of ups and downs, detours, and setbacks. Sometimes it feels like you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But even the setbacks are part of the journey. They teach you resilience, adaptability, and perseverance. When you celebrate progress, you honor these moments as essential parts of your growth. Another powerful way to celebrate progress is by practicing gratitude. Take time to reflect on what you've accomplished, no matter how small it may seem. Maybe you had a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, or perhaps you took a few minutes to meditate during a stressful day. These small actions matter. They add up over time and contribute to your overall well-being and success. It's also important to recognize that celebrating progress doesn't mean settling for less. It's not about lowering your standards or giving up on your dreams. It's about recognizing that the path to those dreams is built on consistent effort and self-compassion. When you celebrate progress, you build momentum. You remind yourself that you're capable of growth, and that motivates you to keep going. One of the biggest barriers to celebrating progress is comparison. It's easy to look at someone else's highlight reel and feel like you're falling short. But the truth is, everyone's journey is different. You don't know the struggles, sacrifices, or setbacks that others have faced. Instead of comparing yourself to others, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Celebrate the ways you've grown, the habits you've improved, and the courage you've shown. Progress over perfection also involves letting go of the fear of failure. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's a stepping stone to it. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn, grow, and do better next time. When you embrace this mindset, you begin to see failure not as something to avoid, but as something to appreciate. As you move through 2025, make it a habit to celebrate your progress. Keep a journal where you jot down your wins, big and small. Share your achievements with trusted friends or family who can cheer you on. Take moments to pause and reflect on how far you've come. Most importantly, be gentle with yourself. Remind yourself that perfection is not the goal. Showing up, trying your best, and learning along the way are what truly matter. When you celebrate progress, you cultivate a sense of self-worth that isn't tied to outcomes. You begin to see yourself as worthy not because of what you've achieved, but because of who you are. This year, choose progress over perfection. Let go of the need to have it all figured out. Focus on taking 1 step at a time and trust that those steps will lead you to where you're meant to be. Celebrate your efforts, embrace your imperfections, and approach your journey with self-compassion. In doing so, you'll not only achieve more, you'll enjoy the process of becoming the best version of yourself. As you step into 2025, let this be the year you fully embrace the transformative power of focusing on yourself. Prioritize authenticity by honoring your unique journey, and recognize that your path is yours alone. Embrace vulnerability as a tool for growth, understanding that true courage lies in showing up as your imperfect, beautiful self. Set boundaries that protect your energy and align with your values, knowing that this act of self-respect will open doors to peace and purpose. And above all, celebrate progress over perfection, acknowledging every small step forward as a victory and treating yourself with the kindness and compassion you deserve. This year is an opportunity to reclaim your energy, nurture your growth, and live authentically. It's not about perfection or meeting external expectations. It's about living in alignment with your values and becoming the truest version of yourself. Trust in the process, honor your efforts, and commit to showing up for yourself every day. The journey may not always be easy, but it will be worth it. By focusing only on yourself, you're not being selfish, you're creating the foundation for a life that feels fulfilling and deeply meaningful. And as you grow and flourish, you'll inspire others to do the same. So take this year to unapologetically invest in yourself. The best version of you is waiting to emerge.